Have you ever felt like your mind just won't stop racing? Like no matter what you do, the past keeps pulling you back, and the future keeps filling you with worry. This is the story of a young man named Adrian, a restless soul trapped in his own thoughts. But one unexpected journey and one unusual challenge would unlock a secret that completely transformed his life.
Adrian was just 24, but he felt much older. Not because of his body, but because of his mind. Every single day, his head was flooded with thoughts, memories from the past that filled him with regret, fears about the future that kept him awake at night. His mind was like a storm that never stopped, and no matter what he tried, he couldn't find peace. He couldn't sleep properly. He couldn't laugh like he used to. Even a simple smile felt impossible. People in the village saw him walking with heavy steps, as if he carried an invisible weight. But what they didn't know was that Adrian was slowly losing himself inside that storm of thoughts. And then, one day, he heard a rumor, a whisper about a wise old man who lived far away, in a quiet village hidden in the hills. They said this man wasn't always a hermit. Once, he had been a famous psychologist in the city, a man who had guided countless people through their darkest struggles. But when he grew old, he left the noise of the city behind and chose to live close to nature. Some said he still shared his wisdom, but only to those who truly sought peace. For Adrian, those words were like a spark in the dark. He thought to himself, maybe, just maybe, this old man can help me. And so, with nothing to lose, Adrian decided to leave his village behind and search for the man who might hold the key to silence his restless mind. The road to the hills was not easy. Adrian walked for days, sometimes under the burning sun, sometimes through cold winds that cut against his skin. His legs grew heavy, but his mind, restless as ever, kept him moving forward. Every step was filled with one question: what if this old man really can help me? At night, when the world grew quiet, Adrian would lie awake, staring at the stars. But even under the endless sky, his thoughts would not leave him alone. Memories of mistakes from his past, fears of a future he couldn't control, they haunted him like shadows. Yet something inside kept pushing him forward. It wasn't just curiosity, it was hope. Hope that maybe somewhere out there, peace was possible. Finally, after a long and tiring journey, Adrian arrived at the village in the hills. It was small, surrounded by trees, with homes that looked as though they had grown out of the earth itself. And there, at the edge of the village, he saw it, a little house almost hidden beneath vines and greenery. On the porch sat the old man, his eyes closed, his body completely still. He looked fragile, but there was something powerful about him. Something in the calmness of his face, in the way the air around him felt different. Adrian slowly approached, his voice trembling as he spoke. "Grandfather, my mind is restless. I cannot stop thinking. I want peace in my heart. Can you help me?" The old man opened his eyes. They were gentle, yet sharp, as if they could see through every layer of Adrian's soul. A faint smile appeared on his lips as he replied, "So you are searching for peace? Then come with me. I will give you a task." The old man stood up slowly, his movements calm, unhurried. He led Adrian to the small yard beside his house. There, he picked up a simple glass and began filling it with water. He didn't stop until the water touched the rim, so full that even the slightest shake would make it spill. Carefully, he placed the glass in Adrian's hands. "Now," the old man said softly, "walk from here to the edge of the village, and then come back. But remember, not a single drop must fall." Adrian froze for a moment. This wasn't what he expected. He had come for wisdom, for guidance, and all he got was a glass of water? But something about the old man's steady gaze told him this was no ordinary task. So Adrian nodded. He held the glass tightly with both hands and began to walk. The path was narrow and busy. Villagers passed by, some rushing, some strolling, children laughing and chasing each other. Shopkeepers shouted to customers. Dogs barked in the distance. But Adrian's eyes never moved away from the glass. Every step, every breath was focused on keeping that water still. He walked slowly, carefully, ignoring everything else around him. Some villagers glanced at him curiously, but no one said a word. They seemed to understand this was more than just a walk. At last, after what felt like forever, Adrian returned to the old man. His hands trembled slightly, but the glass was still full. "Grandfather," he said with relief, "I did it. Not a single drop spilled." The old man's lips curved into another gentle smile. "That's good," he replied. "But tell me, Adrian, on your walk, did you see the children playing? Did you hear the dogs barking?" Adrian blinked, confused. "No, I didn't notice any of that. I only saw the glass." The old man's smile grew warmer. "That's exactly it," he said. And in that moment, without realizing it, your mind became quiet. The old man leaned closer, his voice calm yet filled with weight. "You see, Adrian, when your mind is fixed on the present moment, there is no room left for fear or confusion or wandering thoughts. When you carried that glass, you were not trapped in memories of the past. You were not worried about what tomorrow might bring. You were simply here, focused, alive, present." Adrian stood in silence, the words sinking deep. He thought about the walk he had just taken. For the first time in years, his mind hadn't been spinning out of control. All that mattered was the water in his hands. The old man continued, "Peace is not something you chase outside of yourself. It is not hidden in the mountains, nor in the villages, nor in the future you fear. Peace has always been inside you, waiting. It shows itself when you bring your mind into this very moment." Adrian's chest rose and fell with a long breath. He felt something he hadn't felt in a long time: clarity. He finally understood that the storm inside him wasn't permanent. It only lived where his mind wandered, to the past he couldn't change and the future he couldn't control. But when he focused, when he stayed present, that storm faded. Even if just for a few moments, he had touched real peace. With new humility,
Adrian bowed his head. "Grandfather," he whispered, "now I understand. If I want to calm my mind, I must keep it here, in this moment. That is where peace lives." The old man nodded, his eyes soft. A faint glow of the setting sun touched his face as he smiled once more. The sun was dipping low, painting the sky in shades of gold and crimson. Birds flew back to their nests, and the quiet village prepared for evening. Adrian stood there for a moment, watching the light fade, feeling something inside him shift. The storm that once ruled his mind had finally begun to calm. He turned to the old man and bowed deeply, not just out of respect, but out of gratitude. This simple lesson, taught through a glass of water, had given him more than years of restless searching ever could. Adrian began his walk back home, but this time the path felt different. The same road that once carried his heavy footsteps now felt lighter, freer. He still saw people moving, children playing, dogs barking, all the things he had missed before, but now he didn't feel overwhelmed. Instead, he noticed them without judgment, without fear. He was simply present. Adrian realized he was no longer the same man who had set out on this journey. The sadness about his past, the worries about his future, they no longer held the same power over him. For the first time in years, he smiled, a genuine smile, because he finally understood something simple yet life-changing. Peace wasn't a treasure to be found somewhere far away. It was always inside him, waiting to be uncovered in the present moment. And so Adrian walked on, no longer running from his thoughts, but walking beside them in peace. Adrian returned to his village, but he wasn't the same restless young man anymore. The storms of his mind still came and went, but now he knew the secret to calming them. It wasn't about escaping the past. It wasn't about controlling the future. It was about living here, now, in the present. That was the wisdom the old man had passed to him, and it was the gift that would stay with Adrian for the rest of his life. So the question is, how often do we forget this truth? How often do we let regrets and fears steal our peace, while the present moment quietly waits for us to notice it? Perhaps Adrian's story is not just his own. Perhaps it's a reminder for me, for you, for anyone listening right now, that peace is not something we search for in the distance. It is already inside us, waiting for us to come home to the present. Until the next story, carry this lesson with you. Stay here, stay now, and maybe, just maybe, you'll find the peace you've been searching for.